The auction floor smelled like oil, smoke, and silence. Tom stood in the back, arms crossed, watching the row of cages lined up under dull yellow lights. This wasn't the first time he had been to this corner of the station, but it was the first time it made him sick. Most people here didn't talk. They just pointed and nodded at what they wanted. Old robots. Broken parts. Sometimes even living beings. And today, it was young aliens. A merchant in a long coat shouted names and prices. Each cage held one creature, some large, some small. The buyers didn't seem to care who or what they were, only how useful they might be. One by one, aliens were taken. No one looked them in the eyes. Tom wasn't here to buy. He had only come for fuel parts. But then, he saw them dot at the end of the line. Two small figures sat curled up in a cage that was barely taller than Tom's waist. They were girls no more than 10 or 11 in human years. Their skin was pale violet. Their arms were thin. One had short silver hair and wide glowing eyes. The other kept her face down, her dark blue hair hiding it. They wore worn cloth, barely held together. They didn't cry. They didn't speak. They just sat there, completely still. The merchant shouted, "Last pair. 2 for 1 price. Rare species, psychic type. But weak, not trained." The room was silent. No one raised a hand. Some people chuckled. One man even said, "Why bother? They'll die in a week." Tom's jaw tightened. The merchant sighed. "Final call, any bid?" Still nothing. He reached for the control pad. "No sale." "I'll have them sent." "I'll take them," said Tom. Heads turned. Tom stepped forward. Hands raised. "I'll take the girls." The merchant looked confused. "You want them?" Tom nodded. "Yes." "What for?" "They're useless." "They're not useless," Tom said. "They're scared. And they don't belong in a cage." The merchant shrugged. "Your credits. Your problem." Tom tapped his ID chip. The cage opened with a click. The silver-haired girl looked up, eyes wide. The other still didn't move. Tom knelt slowly and reached out his hand. "It's all right," he said softly. "You're safe now." The girls didn't speak, but they moved. The silver-haired one took his hand first. Her fingers were cold and shaking. She looked back at the other girl, who finally rose to her feet. Slowly, carefully, she followed. Tom led them out of the auction floor. No one stopped him. No one cared. As they walked past rows of machines and crates, he glanced down. At them, neither girl spoke a word, but both looked up at him with eyes that seemed to say, "Please don't be like the others." He didn't speak either, but his heart gave a quiet answer. "I'm not." They reached the docking bay. Tom's ship, the Freestone, waited quietly. It wasn't big or clean, but it was home. He helped the girls step inside and guided them to a small cabin. It had a warm bed, blankets, and soft lights. He pointed to the bed. "You can rest here." The silver-haired girl nodded. Tom fetched some food, simple stew and water. He placed it near them and backed away, not too close. "Tom," he said gently, "you don't have to talk. Just eat, sleep. You're safe here." He left the door open and walked to the cockpit, sitting in his pilot's chair. For a long time, he stared out at the stars. An hour passed. Then he heard soft footsteps. He turned and saw the silver-haired girl standing near the door. She held the empty food bowl in both hands. Her wide eyes stared at him. Tom smiled. "You want more?" She didn't speak, but slowly. She nodded. He stood up and walked to the kitchen. As he prepared another bowl, he glanced at her again. She wasn't just silent, she was watching, studying. Not afraid anymore, just curious. He handed her the bowl. "I don't know your name yet." "That's okay, when you're ready." She looked down at the food, then back at him. and for the first time. She smiled. Back in the cabin, the second girl still sat by the bed. She hadn't moved much, but when her sister returned, they shared the stew. Quietly, Tom stood in the hallway. Unseen, he didn't know who they were. He didn't know their past. But as he watched them fall asleep, side by side, something deep inside him stirred. He wasn't their father. He wasn't their rescuer. But maybe, just maybe, he could be the first one who didn't leave. Asterisk, the Freestone drifted slowly through deep space, far from the noise of the trade station. Inside the ship, it was quiet. The hum of the engines was soft, like a heartbeat in the background. The silver-haired girl and her sister stayed mostly in their room, still unsure if this peace would last. Tom didn't push them. He fixed broken panels, checked the engine core, cooked simple meals. Every now and then, he left a tray of food outside their door. 1 plate, 2 spoons. Always warmed out, they always ate. But they never spoke. 3 days passed. On the 4th morning, Tom was checking the cargo bay when he heard a soft noise behind him, bare feet on metal. He turned. The silver-haired girl stood there, watching him. She held a small, empty water bottle in both hands. Tom smiled. Need a refill? She nodded. He walked to the dispenser, filled the bottle, and handed it back. You're brave for walking around the ship, he said gently. It's safe. Here, I promise. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she pointed at herself and said, very softly, Lena. Tom blinked. Lena, that's your name? She nodded again, a bit more confidently. He smiled wide. It's nice to meet you, Lena. Thank you for telling me. Lena hesitated, then turned and ran back down the hall, but her steps were lighter. Now, later that evening, Tom left another tray at their door. This time, when he returned an hour later, the tray was still there, but the 2 girls were sitting in the hall, side by side, waiting for him. Lena looked up and pointed to the other girl. Myra. Tom crouched down. Myra, is that your sister? Lena nodded. Myra stayed quiet. Her eyes were darker, sadder. But she didn't run. That was something. Tom looked at both of them. You can stay here. No one will hurt you. Ever again. Lena looked at Myra, then reached out and took her hand. Myra still didn't speak, but she gently nodded. The next day, Tom began showing them the ship. He started with simple things. How to open the food storage safely, where the toilets were, how the light switches worked. Lena followed every word, eyes sharp. Myra stayed close behind, quiet but observant. Tom walked them to the cockpit. This is where I fly the ship, he said, patting the control panel. It's old, but it works. Lena stepped closer and pointed at a blinking button. Danger? Tom laughed. Only if you press it during lunch. Even Myra cracked a small smile at that. As days passed, the girls started to help. Lena liked tools. She followed Tom during repairs, learning how to fix broken wires and tighten bolts. She didn't speak much, but she didn't need to. Her hands were quick and her eyes understood. Myra liked drawing. She found a broken screen and began painting on it with old stylus pens. Her drawings were beautiful trees, stars, shapes Tom didn't recognize. One morning, she drew the freestone. Then she drew 3 stick figures, a tall one and 2 small ones holding hands. She handed the screen to Tom. He swallowed hard. Is that us? Myra nodded. One afternoon, the comms buzzed. It was Rollo, Tom's old friend from a nearby freighter. Crew, heard you picked up a couple passengers, Rollo said. Strange ones. Tom kept his voice calm. They're kids, Rollo, from the auction. You sure that's smart? Rollo asked. Some of those species are unpredictable. Tom looked at the girls. Lena was fixing a wire under the engine. Mira was drawing a picture of a flower blooming in sunlight. "I'm sure," Tom replied. That night, Tom made soup and served it at the dining table. For the first time, Lena and Myra sat with him to eat. They still spoke little, but their presence said enough. He didn't need them to be loud. He didn't need answers about their past. What mattered was that they were no longer caged. No longer ignored. He saw what no one else had seen, their worth. Their beauty wasn't in their strength or skills. It was in their quiet courage, their trust, their survival. And in the way they slowly, carefully let someone care for them. Asterisk. Days turned into weeks aboard the Freestone. Lena and Mira were no longer afraid to move around the ship. They didn't flinch when Tom walked past. They didn't hide when he spoke. Slowly, they were becoming part of the ship's quiet rhythm. And Tom made sure of one thing above all. He never raised his voice. He knew what fear looked like. He had seen it in war, in chaos, and now, in the eyes of two young girls who'd been left behind. So he taught them with kindness. Each morning started the same. "Good morning," Tom would say, smiling. Lena would return a small nod. Myra would peek from around the corner. Sometimes she waved. Tom gave them jobs, small tasks with no pressure. Lena helped clean the vents. Myra wiped the screens. Every finished task earned a thank you and a smile. No reward was greater than being told, "You did well." One afternoon, Tom opened a cabinet and pulled out 2 small learning tablets. "These are for you," he said, placing them on the table. Lena picked one up and tapped it gently. The screen came to life. "They have pictures, words, and games." Tom explained, "You can learn Human Standard, our language, and I can try to learn yours too." Mira slowly picked up the second tablet. She tapped a symbol that looked like a tree. The tablet spoke. "Tree," it said in English. She looked up at Tom, eyes wide. He nodded. "Yes, that's right." She tapped another one, this time a star. "Star," the voice said. Lena and Myra spent the whole evening playing with the words. A few days later, something unexpected happened. Tom was fixing a broken pipe in the engine room. His arm was stuck inside the panel, and water was leaking everywhere. "Lena," he shouted, "pass the wrench long one." She ran over with the wrong one, looking worried. "No, not that. The other one. Long." Myra stepped in, calm and quiet. She looked at both tools, then handed the correct one. Tom took it, twisted the valve, and the pipe stopped spraying. He looked at Myra in surprise. "You understood that?" She nodded. "Long, wrench, fix." Tom laughed. "You're learning fast." Lena crossed her arms and muttered, "I helped too." Tom smiled wide. "You both did." In the evenings, they sat together at the dinner table. Tom told stories from Earth, about oceans, trees, and snow. He showed them pictures of animals, food, and funny things like cats knocking over cups. Lena loved the ocean videos. Mira always pointed at the stars. One night, Tom asked, "What was your home like?" Mira looked at him, then quietly picked. Up her tablet. She drew with her fingers a large tree, round and glowing, birds with wide wings, a waterfall beside a cliff. Tom stared at the screen. "That's beautiful." She nodded. "Home, before. Fire." Tom didn't ask more. He just sighed. "It's safe now. You don't have to run anymore." Word about the girls started to spread. Ships that passed near the Freestone asked Tom questions. "You still keeping those alien kids? You sure they're safe? Don't get too attached." Tom always gave the same answer. "They're not pets. They're not tools. They're people. And they're staying with me." Some captains laughed, but others started to listen. One day, Mira touched Tom's hand gently and said, Thank you. It was only 2 words, but they meant more than any long speech. Tom looked down at her and smiled. You don't have to thank me, he said. I didn't save you. I just did what no one else did. I saw you. That night, as they sat under the viewing dome, Lena whispered, Tom? He looked at her. Yeah? Do we have a place now? Tom leaned back in his chair. You? Mean like home? She nodded. He looked up at the stars. Yeah, you do, right here. Mira leaned against his arm. Lena smiled, and for the first time, the Freestone didn't feel like just a ship anymore. It felt like family. Asterisk, the stars outside. The Freestone moved slowly as the ship drifted near a quiet asteroid belt. It was peaceful. The hum of the engines, the glow of control lights, and the gentle breathing of the sleeping crew made it feel like nothing could go wrong. But peace doesn't always mean answers. Tom still didn't know where the girls were really. From Lina and Myra had shared pieces, images, emotions. Short words, but not the full story. Tom didn't push them. He believed they would tell him when they were ready. And one day, they were. It began when Myra woke up screaming. Tom rushed into their room. She was sitting upright, eyes wide, arms shaking. Lena held her, whispering in a soft alien language. Tom knelt beside the bed. It's okay. You're safe. It was just a dream. But Myra wouldn't stop shaking. She reached for her tablet and started drawing with shaky hands. Her fingers moved quickly, lines, symbols, fire, shadows. Tom watched. His chest tightened. Lina looked up. She remembers. Remembers what? Tom asked gently. Our home. What happened? Mira handed him the tablet. The picture was clear. Tall buildings burning. Ships falling from the sky. Alien soldiers in dark armor dragging people away. And 2 small girls hiding under a broken table. Understood. Someone had attacked their home. Do you know who they were? He asked. Lena nodded. Hunters. They wanted mines. Tom raised an eyebrow. Mines? Lena touched her temple. Our kind can feel, speak, not with words. With thoughts. Telepathy. Tom sat back. That's why the Trade Guild was afraid of you. That's why no one bid. They thought you were dangerous. Lena looked down. We're not. I know, Tom said softly. I've always known. The next day, Tom made a secure call to a friend in the Galactic Records Department. His name was Ben, an old researcher and data miner. When Ben appeared on the screen, he grinned. Tom, haven't heard from you since you nearly crashed that cargo boat into a moon? Tom smiled. Still flying straight. I need a favor. Ben leaned closer. What kind? I need information about a species. Small in number. Pale violet. Skin. Silver or dark blue hair. Strong emotions. Possible telepathy. Ben's smile faded. You're talking about the Leary. Tom glanced at the girls who were sitting quietly nearby. Lena and Myra, he said. I think they're Leary. Ben whistled. That's impossible. That species was hunted almost to extinction over 10 years ago. People thought they were a threat to galactic security. Because they could feel more than we can? Tom asked. Because they could connect minds, Ben said. The council feared they'd be able to control leaders, start wars, spread panic. So, they didn't take chances. Tom frowned. They were just children. Ben nodded. I know, but fear doesn't care. Tom ended the call with a heavy heart. He turned to the girls. You're Leary. You don't have to hide it anymore. Myra looked up. You're not. Scared? Tom shook his head. No, I'm proud. You've survived so much, and you're still kind, still brave. Lena whispered, others won't be like you. Tom nodded. Maybe not, but that's why I'll protect you. Always. That evening, Myra did something she had never done before. She walked to Tom and placed her small hand on his forehead. In a moment, he felt warmth like sunlight, and sadness, and safety, and a soft voice in his mind. "Thank you for seeing us." Tom's eyes filled with tears. "You don't ever have to thank me," he said out loud. "You're my girls now." They sat together under the stars that night, just the three of them. Tom didn't feel like a hero. He didn't feel like a soldier or a mechanic. He felt like a father, not by blood, but by choice. And he knew whatever came next, he wouldn't let anything take them away again. A few quiet weeks passed after the truth came out. Tom kept the Freestone far from busy routes. He took small jobs, asteroid scans, repair calls, delivery runs. Just enough to keep credits coming in, and the ship moving. Lena and Myra were more relaxed now. They laughed sometimes. They helped cook, fix things, and even gave Tom short lessons. In their language. Myra often placed her hand on Tom's forehead. It was their quiet way of sharing feelings. No full thoughts, just calm, warmth, trust. Tom started to believe maybe, just maybe, the worst was behind them. He was wrong. It started with a message. It came through a private channel. No ID, no voice, just 3 words blinking on the screen. "You have them." Tom's heart dropped. He tapped to trace the signal, but it vanished. He didn't tell the girls. He didn't want to worry them. But he shut down outside communications and activated the ship's shields. He also sent a warning to his old friend Ben. Within an hour, Ben replied, "A bounty's been posted. High one. Someone wants them back, or dead. Tom, you need to hide." That night, Tom barely slept. He sat in the cockpit, watching radar. His blaster was on the console. Lena came in, rubbing her eyes. "Why awake?" Tom forced a smile. "Couldn't sleep." She crawled onto the seat beside him and stared at the stars. "Bad people?" Tom nodded. "Maybe." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "We stay?" He wrapped an arm around her. "Always." The next day, trouble arrived. A sleek ship dropped from orbit, dark, fast, and armed. No signal. No call. Just silence. Tom saw it on the radar and activated the emergency lockdown. "Lena, Mira, stay in the engine room," he said through the intercom. "Don't come out unless I call." They didn't argue. That ship didn't dock like a traitor. It slammed into the side port, cutting into the hull with a breech claw. Tom grabbed his blaster and took cover. 3 figures in black armor stepped aboard, tall, cold, and silent. Their helmets glowed red. One of them spoke. "Hand them over." Tom didn't move. "Who sent you?" The soldier raised his weapon. "They are dangerous. They do not belong to you." Tom's voice was firm. "They don't belong to anyone." The soldier took a step forward. Tom fired first. The blaster shot hit the soldier and the chest armor cracked, but not enough. A firefight broke out in the narrow hall. Tom ducked behind crates, returning fire. Sparks flew. The air smelled of smoke and burnt wires. One attacker circled behind. But Tom had lived through worse. He triggered a trap panel. Lena helped build electric charge surge, shocking the attacker into the wall. Another tried to breach the engine room. Myra was ready. She placed her hand on the door and concentrated. The lights flickered. The air grew still. The soldier dropped his weapon and backed away, confused. He looked around, panicked. He began to cry. Myra didn't speak. She just let him feel what she felt: fear, pain, loneliness. Then she let go. The soldier collapsed. Tom finished off the last attacker with a headshot, clean and fast. He ran to the engine room. Lina stood in the doorway with a metal rod, breathing hard. Mira was behind her, calm but pale. Tom hugged them both. You okay? Lena nodded. We stayed. Like you said, Tom smiled. You did perfect. Later, he dragged the attackers' bodies off the ship. He didn't need questions. He already had answers. Whoever was after the girls wasn't done. They would come again, but next time, Tom would be ready. He set a course for a deep space hiding zone, an old mining station in an asteroid field. They had allies out there. Quiet ones. Good ones. He told Lena and Mira, it's time we stopped running too. That night, under dim lights, Tom sat at the table with the girls. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. They had survived together, and if the galaxy wanted to try again, it would learn just how far one human could go. To protect the beauty no one else saw. Asterisk, the old mining station floated in the middle of an asteroid field. Rust covered its walls. Its lights flickered. But it still had power, food stores, and hidden space for those who didn't want to be found. Tom docked the freestone without alerting anyone. He knew this place. Years ago, before he took in the girls, he helped build some of its systems. Now, it would help hide them. Lina and Myra walked beside Tom as he explored the dusty halls. This is where we stay now? Lena asked. For a little while, Tom said. It's quiet here. Myra looked around. Safe? Tom paused. Not forever, but safe for now. He set up a room with warm lights and beds. Myra placed her tablet on the table. Lena checked the security doors, like she had seen Tom do. They weren't just hiding. They were preparing. The next day, a message came through a secure channel. It was from Earth. Command. Someone had reported that a human had taken custody of 2 unregistered Leary girls. Tom read the message carefully. This is not an arrest order. However, we request you return to Earth for proper placement of the children into a secure habitat, for their protection and the safety of others. Tom stared at the screen. They weren't ordering him, but they were asking, and that meant pressure would follow. He didn't reply. Not yet. That night, Tom sat with Lena and Mira. They ate simple soup together. Earth wants to place you in a colony, he said carefully. Myra looked up, confused. Colony? Tom nodded. They say it would be safer. More guards. Better supplies. Other children. No warships. Lena stared at her spoon. But not with you? Tom's voice was quiet. No, I wouldn't be allowed to stay with you. There was silence. Then Myra asked, would we belong there? Tom shook his head. You'd be protected, maybe, but you wouldn't be seen. Not the way I see you. Lena looked up. Her voice was soft. Then we stay. Tom frowned. Are you sure? Mira stood up and picked up her drawing tablet. She sketched quickly. Then she turned the screen toward Tom. 3 stick figures, holding hands, a small ship in the background. A heart above them. Tom swallowed. You don't have to stay because of me, he said. We stay, Lena said. Because of us. Later that night, Tom opened the communication line to Earth. He didn't record a long speech. He just sent one short message. I won't be bringing them in. They are not property. They are not lost. They are my family. He hit send. Then shut off the signal. The next few days were quiet. Tom worked with Lena on ship repairs. She was getting too good, actually. She knew systems Tom hadn't taught her. You've been sneaking into the manuals, haven't you? He teased. Lena grinned. Myra helps. She reads fast. Mira was spending time drawing symbols on the station walls. They glowed softly, energy from her mind. Tom didn't understand what they meant, but he trusted her. She was building something. Something safe. One afternoon, a small courier ship arrived near the edge of the asteroid field. It didn't approach. It just hovered and sent a message. Tom opened it. It was from Ben. his friend in the Galactic Records Department. "Just letting you know, Earth accepted your message. No charges. No follow-up. They're not happy, but they're not sending anyone. Seen someone higher up read your file and chose to look away." Tom smiled. "You're free, for now." That night, Tom, Lena, and Mira stood under the old station dome, staring at the stars. The danger wasn't over. It never would be. But this fight was theirs to choose. No more hiding. No more running. Only belonging. Tom looked at the girls. Beside him, they weren't just alien orphans anymore. They were family by choice, not by blood. And in a galaxy full of fear and lies, that choice meant everything. The freestone hummed softly in orbit above the asteroid station. Time moved gently now. There were no alarms, no chases. Just quiet work, warm meals, and the feeling of belonging. Tom sat at the central table, sorting through small parts. The girls had drawn tiny stars on the wall, stars and suns and smiling. Ships. Their world was changing. It had color again. Lena entered the room with a handful of tools. "I fixed the light in the hall," she said proudly. Tom smiled. "All by yourself?" She nodded. "Mostly." Behind her, Myra floated in quietly and held up a fresh drawing. It showed the three of them standing on a hill. Above them, the stars spelled out one word: home. Later that day, Tom checked the outer sensors. All clear. No bounty hunters. No strange signals. He opened the file that Earth Command had marked as closed. They hadn't sent another message. No demands. No threats. Just silence. And that was exactly what Tom wanted. At dinner, the girls sat on either side of him. Their plates were full. Mira had learned how to cook rice with vegetables. It was slightly burned, but no one complained. Lena was laughing at one of Tom's old stories about a ship that got stuck inside a moon's gravity ring. She added new parts to make it even funnier. Tom watched them, heart full. He had never expected this. He had never wanted to be a father, but now he couldn't imagine life without them. Later that week, something strange happened. A small freighter docked at the station. It brought supplies, food, fuel, tools, and something more. Curiosity. The captain was a middle-aged woman named Hera, a quiet trader from the Edge systems. She stepped aboard the Freestone with cautious eyes. "You're the one with the alien girls, right?" she asked. Tom nodded. "Their names are Lena and Myra." Hera tilted her head. "I heard stories that they're dangerous." Tom smiled. "They're children. They survived more than anyone ever should, and they still smile." Hera didn't answer. She just walked into the dining area, where Myra was drawing in the corner. Lena looked up and stared at the stranger. Silent. Tom stood beside them. "It's all right," he said. Myra looked at Hera and slowly lifted her drawing. It was a picture of a bird flying over a star. Hera took a breath. "They draw?" Tom nodded. "They dream too." Hera left without saying much, but when her ship undocked, she sent a message back. "Keep them safe. I see it now." Word began to spread slowly, not the kind that brought danger, but the kind that brought respect. Other ships came and went. Some captains asked about the girls. Others dropped off books, data chips, art supplies. One even brought a necklace made from a meteor shard. For the quiet one, he said. The galaxy wasn't changing fast, but it was listening. One evening, Tom took the girls to the station's glass dome. It had been cleaned and repaired. Stars filled the sky. "This is where it all started," he said softly. "When I picked you up, when no one else would." Lena leaned her head on his arm. "You saw us," Tom nodded. "I still do." Myra reached out and touched both their hands. Her eyes glowed faintly. Tom felt something warm flow through him. A voice not spoken, but understood. We're not afraid anymore. He smiled. Good, because neither am I. The dome lights dimmed. Outside, comets passed silently. The galaxy moved on, but on one small ship, docked to one quiet station, something had changed forever. They weren't orphans. They weren't forgotten. They weren't just survivors. They were seen, chosen, loved, and finally, home.